All right, welcome everybody. We're here at the Swimmer Joe Coaches Happy Hour with, of course, Sid Cassidy, our other host, Brent Rutemiller, CEO of the International Swimming Hall of Fame and publisher of Swimming World. We got Laura Voet. Gosh, she's been with the city of Fort Lauderdale for almost ever, but runs the complex down there. She's been there for 16 years and then years and years before that. We also have, of course, Rowdy Gaines. Rowdy Gaines, a gold medalist, Olympian, commentator, on and on. Special, awesome guy. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Joe. It's a special night tonight. Rowdy, so good to see you. Laura, as beautiful as ever. And I can't wait to hear what you and Brent are going to tell us all about the International Swimming Hall of Fame. Joe, we've been talking about this show since we started.
Yeah, it's awesome because that place has so much history. Started the casino pool in 1928 with right there on the beach, right there on your home beach there, Sid. So awesome place. Was there till 1966, and very, very huge history for the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, well, I know Rowdy's a little bit younger than me, but we used to go down there. And in the 80s, though, we did have a lot of meets down there. And Rowdy was still, young man in the 80s. But I know back in high school and college, when you lived in Delaware or you lived anywhere in the Northeast, it was like that was Mecca. Everybody would go down there in the winter. I remember my brother going down in college. And now with everything that's going to be happening, it's going to be Mecca once more.
All right, so guys, if you are watching online, you can ask us any questions you want. We want this to feel like it's just a conversation sitting at a breakfast table or a dinner table. So chime in with any question that you want about the pool. If you want to ask anybody anything, that's great as well. All right, so let's talk. A few years ago, they wanted to redo the pool. Laura and Brent, maybe this goes into your area. Tell us about what went on briefly and then where we are today. And I'll run some videos here in a minute.
Well, Laura, I just want to know how I can grow a beard like Rowdy. Rowdy. I'm working at it, but you got the beard going. So is this like your portable mask going on here? It's awesome.
He's doing good. Let me see. Rowdy, you can hear us, right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we're all good. We're all good.
Okay, so good. The question
I can't hear Brent.
Is that a beard or a mask? That's what we want to know.
It's 2 months of laziness is what it is. I haven't gotten around to shaving for a couple months because of all this. It'll go off when I go back to work, that's for sure.
Love the beard.
Yeah, there you go. Love the beard. All right, so listen, so you're starting this huge mammoth project. Okay. Mammoth project, and Laura, I know that it's a big chunk to buy, and so kind of tell us where we are. What was the tipping point where the city said finally, oh my gosh, we got to do this thing, and then here we are.
Okay, so in July of 2018, the city of Fort Lauderdale awarded a contract to Hensel Phelps Construction Company, and for $27 million to renovate the pools. And we broke ground in April of 2019, and we're proceeding forward with the construction today. And in this video, drone video here that was taken, this is when they were just finishing putting in the sheet piles there at the dive well. And what you'll see in the picture here is that they're doing the auger cast piles over here on the dive well and the main competition pool. And the new diving well is moving over to the west of where the old dive well is. And so you can see in that video, they're digging out the hole there, and they're digging out the auger cast piles there in the main competition pool. So the new main competition pool will be brand new. It'll be 53 meters by 25 meters wide. It'll be 10 lanes. Each lane's 8.2 feet wide. It'll be 2 to 3 meters deep. It'll be about 3 meters deep for about 30 meters on that main competition pool. And the dive well will be 6 meters deep.
So that was a huge undertaking. Those big piers going down there. Were those existing piers? Or are they all brand new? Because the water table's sitting. You look like New Orleans sitting there.
Right. Well, they're all new auger cast piles are going in. So for the main competition pool, there's 112. The dive well has 72 new piles. 35 of those are just for the new dive tower. So they go down about 50 feet, all new piles to support the pools. And then the sheet pile around there is down about 40 feet that surrounds each pool, so they can dig those out.
Okay, we're gonna go to the diving well in a second because it's truly amazing. I think we're the only one, and let me know the only permanent structure, 27-meter tower. Is that correct?
Well, the only one of its kind that has
Permanent.
a full complement of springboards and the diving platforms, and it's definitely in the Western Hemisphere.
Look at that. The Western Hemisphere, the best facility ever. Now, Laura, I have a couple questions. Look, this way here, you can hold all the top theme events all the way through the extreme diving that they're doing now. I have two questions for you. Number one, is that diving well going like kind of where the swimmer's statue used to be?
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving it back. I get it. And so it's a little further closer to the intercoastal. And it gives you more room and deck space for the 50-meter is what it does, right?
Right. So they filled in and abandoned in place the old dive well. So between the main competition pool and the dive well, there'll be about 75 feet there in between that we could put temporary bleachers either facing the competition pool for swimming or the dive well for diving.
And my second question, and Brent, I'm sure you've answered this maybe more than Laura, but how many times have you been asked whether the contractor Phelps is Michael Phelps?
Let me see. About 50 times. So yeah, but yeah, it's those guys are such professionals. These guys who did the bid on this. I came on board right when they were deciding if they wanted to even invest in this facility, and the city was mulling over whether or not they, the money was there. And I went in to watch that presentation. So there was two different companies that were bidding to build the facility, and Hansel Phelps just blew them away because they brought in the experts on how to de-water that peninsula. That's a man-made peninsula. If you look to the north over the intercoastal, there's a bridge going to what's the one, the Las Olas.
Right.
There wasn't a bridge there back in 1965 with a big sandbar. So what they did, they excavated all the sand and everything from there, and then built this man-made peninsula, and then they end up building the bridge. But the water table is so high on that peninsula that Hansel Phelps came in and they said, look, this is how we're going to de-water it, to take the water out so we can build this thing up. And I think they were brilliant. They've been professionals every step of the way.
So Rowdy, what does this mean to all the swimmers out there, all the people that are looking for another venue to swim in, and especially it's outdoors? People like to swim outdoors.
Yeah, there's no question about it that I think the swimming community loves to swim outdoors, and that's around the country, around the world, for that matter. And I think Sid said it best. This was a mecca for the swimming world. It's one of those facilities. We don't have a Wrigley Field or Fenway Stadium or anything like that, Fenway Park. We have Indianapolis, we have Fort Lauderdale, we have Santa Clara. There's only a handful of facilities that we can say that are iconic, and that was the old iconic building. So. Iconic facility, and now with what they're doing down there and Brent's leadership, it's pretty cool to be able to say that we'll be able to go back there hopefully for some major meets.
Well, speaking of speediness, like Rowdy, Mr. Speedy here, we've got someone that broke the very first world record in the old pool, 1966, December 28th. Maybe you guys can recognize this person.
Yeah.
But of course, it's Katie Ball. Katie Ball is.
Katie Ball. Wow.
I mean,
That
come
is-
on in, Katie. I mean, just.
Oh my gosh.
There
You
she
had to do
is.
that, huh?
Hey, all
Nice,
right.
Katie.
Wow.
Well,
Let me first tell you, I'm having a very, yay! I'm having a very hard time hearing y'all. You're breaking up, and I'm
Yeah.
trying the ear pods and everything, but
Yeah.
I can barely hear you. But let's try.
so let's do this. So let's talk about your world record swim. Just give us a brief, give us the 1 minute story of that awesome record that day.
Yeah, we want to hear it.
Tell us about your world record.
I'm on the
Beth.
show, but I can't hear you.
All right, hey Beth, put it
Yeah.
in the
You write it down.
Beth, put it in the,
Any
the chat. So you can
suggestions?
read the chat.
Your daughter said, "Hey, Mom."
There you go. Look at the chat if you can see that, Katie.
Well, the world record that I set, I think was the second meet at the Hall of Fame, and Buck Dawson had invited me down, and I think he really thought I might be kind of good, and I'll be darned if I didn't break a world record in 100-meter breaststroke. So I was glad to be there.
Wow.
Well, so you broke that record 4 or 5 times, and then it held for 6 years, and then you went and broke the 200 breaststroke record that held for like 7 years. So just wanted to bring you on and talk to you and see you. I've been wanting to meet you for so long, so I'm super pumped that you're with us today. So
time out, Rowdy. I want you to call her last 10 meters. Okay?
Yeah, I'm getting the feedback from my husband, so I can hear you. I can't hear you at all.
Me too. I can't
Rowdy
hear
can
her.
call the
I
last
can't.
10 meters.
Yeah. No, I can't hear anything. I can hear Katie, but I can't hear a couple other guys. Oh, there you go. There's the feedback.
All right.
All right. Well, listen.
I want to hear Rowdy call her last 10 meters.
I'm with you, Katie. If you can hear me, I'm hearing the same thing in my ear.
Well, Rowdy, can you hear me? This is Sid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you, Sid. Yep.
Okay. So what Brent and Joe are asking you to tell Katie is we want to hear you calling the last 10 meters of her 100 race.
Yeah, well, that was a little before my time, not too much, but I always looked up to Katie and what an incredible representative she was of our sport, and she was really one of the first superstars of our sport. You throw in that era of Donna Del Verona and Debbie Meyer and Don Scholander. I mean, they kind of ushered in the superstardom of the sport. I mean, we go back to Buster Crabbe and Johnny Weissmuller, Duke, of course, and Brent knows a lot more about all this than I do. But that early 60s, that 60, 64, 68 period was really incredibly important to our sport. And I don't think we would be where we are right now as far as the dominance of USA Swimming. I mean, we've been number one now for 64 straight years. If it wasn't for Katie and the rest of those heroes back in the 60s, ushering in all that era.
And the truth is, Rowdy, they were all teenagers, right? Katie, I don't know if you can hear me, but you guys were very young. You when you set your first world record, how old were you? What was she, 14?
15.
15.
And let me tell you, because I got to tell you this story. Her very first.
15? Me? Are you talking to me? I can't believe I was 15, I think.
Yeah, so her very first record, and everyone here I think knows the pool. Maybe
And
Brent
I think
doesn't.
I heard what Rowdy was saying,
Oh, good.
and they were very nice things. Thank you, Rowdy.
Well, Katie, I mean every word because you were.
Guys, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You were one of the reasons. If you can hear me, Katie, you were really one of the reasons why I started swimming, because I immediately went out like encyclopedia of swimming when I started in spring of 1976, and it was really from the 60 swimmers. I read Deep Water by Don Scholander, and it was off to the races. And it was because of amazing swimmers and representatives of our sport like you,
Yeah.
Katie.
Well, it was.
Well, listen, Katie.
Oh, well, you're very nice. I appreciate that. It was a great. Yeah.
No,
Somebody talking to me?
no, I was just saying. We certainly appreciate you coming on, and it's a pleasure to see you. And
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's great. We just wanted to bring you on and let people see who broke the first world record and was such a badass in swimming back then. Probably, arguably, one of the best breaststrokers ever. Period. So,
no question.
Yeah, I mean, when you retire when you're 17, and
Well, thank you.
I mean, it's amazing how fast you were. But anyway, appreciate you coming on. We're going to continue on with the Hall of Fame pool. But love you, Katie, and we'll talk to you soon.
Joe and Sid. I said to interject from Rowdy. Rowdy, maybe you can hear me. That the golden period of the 60s was really an outburst of, we got a drumming in 56 and the Australians were kicking us in Melbourne and all that. And then USA Swimming imported the whole age group system. It was AAU system, but the whole age group system was pretty much it was just originating across the United States in the early 60s. And it doesn't surprise me that all those young women who are now training with men swimming has always been on the forefront of those things and the equality of it all. So seeing a 14, 15, 17-year-old, that was really the launching of our whole age group system at the time. And that's what took us.
And Peter Dalen and the like, and what the early days of swimming world made a huge impact on people like me, just like Rowdy said. When that Swimming World magazine came to my mailbox in Kinston, North Carolina in the 60s, it was cover to cover, and I would just try and grab it before my sister or my brother, and they were both better swimmers than me. I was just trying to claw my way up, but I'd read through page after page, and it's just our gospel and what you guys have evolved it. And now that you're involved with the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame, I just saw Ben Davis ask the question, and I'll throw that out there for you, certainly, and Rowdy, your comments, but he's asking our nationals will come back. And of course, that takes a little bit of work to do. But what do you guys think on that topic? Will we see the nationals in Fort Lauderdale?
Laura, that's pretty much your bid. I know there's talk of Masters coming back. I know there's talk about YMCA coming back. I don't know where USA Swimming sits. I mean, it's a different, more of maybe a controlled environment. There's a lot more going on in that location. But Laura, I mean, you've been approached on those things.
Well, if they want to have the national championships in Fort Lauderdale, they're welcome to have it in Fort Lauderdale. We'd love to have the nationals back and in Fort Lauderdale. So the last time we had the national championships in Fort Lauderdale was it was 2002, and Michael Phelps and Natalie Coughlin both set world records. That was the first time Natalie went under a minute in the 100-meter backstroke.
Well, wait a minute. We have another world record holder on the line with us right now. Of course we do.
Hey!
Martin
All
1991, 157.30 in the 200 back. Martin, welcome.
Thanks, Joe and Sid and everybody. It's great to be here again.
All right.
I really do appreciate it.
So, Martin, you've got to tell us the story of your world record at the Hall of Fame pool.
Well, 1991 was a good year. I mean, just to set it up, in January, I was the world champion in Perth, Australia, 200 back. I broke the NC2A record in March with the old hand turn, and that was basically the last time that you could do the hand turn, and broke the NC2A record. 142.8 was the old record with the hand turn. Then they switched the rule, and I went to U.S. Nationals at Federal Way, and it was about like my third taper in between conference NC2As and then nationals, and I didn't have enough gas. Just missed a world record, 158.6. World record at the time was 158.1 from Igor Polyansky from the Soviet Union, and he ended up being the 1988 Olympic champion. Going into that summer, my goal was to break the world record. That was objective number one. So, with the Nationals being in Fort Lauderdale that summer, I wanted to get the record, go there. And, I'd gone down to train at Pinecrest for 2 summers. In 1990, I got ready for the Goodwill games, which were in Seattle, and then 91. The Nationals were in Fort Lauderdale. So I was training with my brother David, who was coach at Pinecrest, along with the late Ralph Crocker, who obviously has some great Auburn ties. And so I know Rowdy has probably some fond memories of him and dealing with him over the years.
Sure.
Great coach, probably the nicest guy in the world. But man, he was a hard coach. So going to U.S. Nationals and the prelims, like I said, the record was 158-1, and for me, I always basically even split my races. And I think I was like 58 mid, and back in 59 low, and it was 157.3 for the world record in prelims, and I was very happy with that. Finals, I did not go as fast because I couldn't rush between prelims and finals. I was so excited about breaking the world record for the first time. So, but it was a great day. And on the same day that I broke it, Mike Berriman broke the 200 breaststroke world record at finals. So it was 2 world records on the same day at the Hall of Fame.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was one amazing meet, and that was phenomenal. And Martin, you certainly did step up. Your feeling on that pool, what had to be, the old pool, that was before we dug it out, right? Tell me.
It was. I will say that I like that pool. Outdoors and backstroke, I know a lot of people don't like it. To some degree, I don't like it. I prefer being inside. It's a lot easier to guide off the roof when you're indoors. But I will say with the Hall of Fame, with the way that it was before, the lane lines were, the lanes are super narrow. So it's like, even if you circle swim, you weren't circle swimming very much, so it was a very good pool. And, just the experience of being there over the years, whether it was region meets way back when and sectionals, and then nationals, I had, just a lot of experience, especially, going down and, swimming in the summers at Pinecrest. I had a little bit more exposure to the Hall of Fame than most people did.
So Rowdy, you've done a million things in that pool, right, Rowdy? You've done a lot of races in that pool, correct?
Oh yeah.
Tell me some of your best experiences in that pool.
Well, both as a swimmer and as a broadcaster, I remember many of them. I'll never forget swimming nationals there in 1979, and that was sort of my breakout summer individually. I had made the 78 World Championship team in the 200 free, and then swam a couple relays, but I won nationals there in the 200 freestyle in 79. And I think the biggest accomplishment I could say I had there was I think I finished 3rd or 4th in the 400 freestyle event. I never swam, wouldn't want to swim ever again, but it was a great pool for me. My very first experience in Fort Lauderdale was the state championship. I didn't start swimming till I was a junior in high school. And like I said, spring of 76, and barely qualified for the state meet, which was in Fort Lauderdale. I finished 15th out of 16 swimmers, my first state. And the next year I went back to Fort Lauderdale and I won the state championship. So that pool brings a lot of incredibly fond memories for me as an athlete and as a broadcaster. I'll never forget Martin's race. He still is, but he was, oh my God, the guy was a stud. And he was like a god, because I'll never forget Barcelona. Dude, the dude was like a white Spanish Jesus. He was, I'm not kidding. I swear, he was like a god. We were talking about watching this Michael Jordan documentary the other night, and they called him Black Jesus. Well, Martin Zabero was the white Jesus of Spain, because when he did what he did back in '92 in Barcelona. Obviously Fort Lauderdale, and I remember that, but it was a great thing. And a little known fact is I got to break a world record with Martin. Nobody knows that, do you?
Relay.
And of course, it was yeah, it's right. Masters swimming relay.
Masters relay. I was going to mention that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right,
Was
Martin.
that it? Hall of Fame?
No,
That was at the Aquatic Center.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it's at the Aquatic Center in Orlando at my Masters meet, and it was so cool to be able to actually say, "Here's a guy that I, really looked up to in a lot of ways because he handled himself so well throughout all of that in Barcelona, and he was just such a perfect gentleman. And to be able to say I swam a race with him was pretty cool. So that was obviously a great race. But I think the two greatest races I ever witnessed in that pool were, and this has been talked about, obviously, I think Swimming World talked about it a couple weeks ago, was the Michael Phelps and Eric Vent duel in the 400 IM.
That last
And
turn,
yeah, man, dude. And Michael still gives me grief every time I see him about that specific race. How long ago was that? It was like 17 years ago or something like that. It was crazy how long ago that was. And every time, because I said on the broadcast, because he went out so fast, I said, man, he went out so fast. He may end up fading in this race.
Right.
And every time he sees me, he goes, did I fade in that race, Rowdy? Did I fade in that race? So he gives me grief, and deservedly so. But that one, and then
that race, Rowdy, before we leave that race, that race, so many people. I was standing right on the turn, watching it, living it. And now Michael gave you a little bit of that Michael Jordan, right? Because he's like 17, 18 years later, still giving you grief over it. And that's beautiful. Yeah. That's just Michaal. Totally different than Michael Jordan, but it has streaks of that being the GOAT and being the GOAT, right?
Oh, there's no question about it. And I think MP will tell you that when he looked at, if anybody watched that documentary on Jordan, you saw a lot of similarities with Michael Phelps, a lot of similarities, and not every single one, Sid, like you said, but boy, I tell you, the just the killer instinct that he had, it was really kind of eerie in many ways that these two GOATs, no doubt about it, are similar in a lot of ways. So I know we're digressing, but no,
Rowdy, we're sitting around talking. It's fine. I wanted to ask you on that while we're talking, and I'd like to get Martin and Joe's opinion too, and Brent, Laura. I've seen a lot of stuff this week about Michael Jordan the GOAT, Michael Jordan the bully. Who is he? And there's on the internet, everybody's bored, everybody's at home just going on their typewriter. What do you say, Rowdy? What do you say about that?
Man, he put it perfectly. I can't remember in which episode, but he said it perfectly, Sid, in the fact that he never asked anyone to do anything if he didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? He would never have somebody work as hard if he wasn't working as hard. He worked as hard or harder than anybody else. So it's a little bit of a different circumstance. Michael wasn't a bully, obviously, because his was much more of an individual sport in many ways, obviously, and then also the relays. But he had to get those guys fired up. He had his own way about it, but Michael Jordan had to do what he had to do to be a champion, and anybody you can't fault that.
Yeah, but anytime you're in the 1% of anything, you're not balanced. I mean, you just can't have balance in your life. So everything has to be just super focused for you to go those breaking barriers. And when you go back and reflect on it, whether he's a bully or he wasn't, in your norm, you never get to that point unless you're totally focused in that 1%. So very few people can remain in that 1% for a long time.
All right, so Laura, let's continue our talk about the pool, and I'm going to show today. You sent me this today. Okay, this is pretty cool stuff here. All right, so this is what they're doing, and is that from rain or what is that?
No. That's the water table.
That's the dewatering process I talked about.
Oh my gosh.
So they're in a couple weeks, they're going to be putting in the waterproof subfloor on that. So they're digging that out. It needs to go down. Dive well is going to be 6 meters deep. And so in a couple weeks, they're going to bring in all the concrete trucks. And in a couple weeks, the first week of June, and where they're just discussing that. And the first pour, this is the first pour for the facility for the pool, and 145 trucks, they said 145 cement trucks will be coming in to pour that floor for the dive well. So
there's, I forget how many, what is it, cubic yards are in a truck, but that's a lot.
Yeah. They'll start early in the morning and they'll go nonstop. So that'll be like the first week of June. That's a projected date for that. And then there'll be 12 more of these big pours that they were projecting between June and June and January of next year to get all the foundation work in and the pools.
And the whole time they're pumping out water constantly while it just keeps coming up. So that whole process is, I think it added 3-4 million to the project, Bar. I mean, it was a pretty significant amount.
The dewatering's a couple million. There's about 500,000 gallons of water a day as part of the dewatering process. So it's
if I'm correct, it ends with a plug of some sort? Doesn't some guy have to go down in there and finish it off? I mean,
yeah, it's called the
pull the plug and you're dead.
Going to have the scuba divers go down there and put up in the dive well. It's specialty for the dive well to get that in there.
I think they should have a cage where they could let the sharks in, with a cage and they could just swim in. I think that would be cool.
We could sell tickets.
Or fish can come in.
It'd be a fundraiser. We could do this as a fundraiser. I'm gonna write that down.
And then the divers can just like dodge the
Joe,
fish.
What time is it, Joe?
Okay, guys, listen. It is time. I am 4 minutes behind, and I just want to say, happy hour. Congrats, cheers, everyone. This is a happy hour, by the way. So whether you have water, Kool-Aid, thumbs up.
It's a family show, so I've got an O'Doul's here because I know it's a family show, right?
USA Swimming allows sponsors like Jim, so whatever. Okay, we're here.
So we've got all these changes with USA Swimming. Rowdy, take a good look at Martin's head. Doesn't it look like he's supporting the Longhorns with those?
Oh my gosh.
I feel his pain. Hey, I want to ask.
No. I mean, that particular shot, his wife loves this. I told him he's got a beautiful piece of art back there, but he's a Gator. And nothing against Eddie Reese. I know Rowdy and Eddie are good friends, and the Texas Longhorns have long been a thorn in the side of ourGators. It just looks like
this is the best Wi-Fi in my house. So that is why I'm right here right now.
And we know about that. We know about that for sure.
But I do with these beautiful pool, Laura and Brent. We're talking about nationals and this and that. I think Rowdy's got it right. We got Fort Lauderdale originally. And you saw that picture, Joe, the casino pool. Can we get that again? What year was that photo taken?
Well, this pool is years and years and years ago. Obviously, there's the beach in the foreground. And then Brent was saying that Las Olas, that little island peninsula, was not there, so you can kind of see it kind of wasn't there. That would have been on the right side of it. It looks like.
It's in a park in the front, right on A1A. It's right on A1A. That's where the park is in front of the pool.
Okay, I got it. That's the park in front of the pool. So this has to be looking at the cars. What, 1930s?
Yeah, and then here's it
was built in 1928.
Yeah, 1928, and also you can tell by the boats. It looks like a lot of wooden holes there up at the boats.
Right. So that's even before Dick Cavanaugh and Jack Nelson were coaching there.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how that pool was filled with ocean water. They would fill it up with the ocean water and then they drain it, and it had a constant flow of ocean water in there
every day. And so Catherine Rawls kind of brought it into Fort Lauderdale, made Fort Lauderdale famous. Let me see what they called her. Do you guys remember what they called her? Let me see if I can find it. It's awesome.
She was like the maid of Fort Lauderdale. What was she? She was the queen. I'll tell you.
Catherine Rawls Day.
Catherine Rawls Day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is. It's January. It's January 28th. Is Catherine Rawls Day? It looks like. Oh, here it is. Here it is. At 5'2" and a muscular 107 pounds, she was described as a tiny slip of a girl with a fighting spirit and trim lines of a tarpon.
I like that.
That's pretty good. Trim lines of a tarpon.
So she won. She had 14 swimming national championships. She had 11 diving national championships, which is amazing. And then there was something else that she did in the 30s. But anyway,
open water marathon. Did she go around Atlantic City or something?
I mean,
did it all.
I mean, sounds like she did it all. She was sports person of the year with Babe Diedrichson and some of those guys.
So now Catherine Rawls, she has her own day. We're thinking about the future as we look at these pictures, the future and what's going on. And you see, we've got Rowdy, who's seen so much of the history, and Brent, who controls now running the history between the magazine and the Hall of Fame. Let's project 20 years in the future beyond all this COVID stuff. Let's get to a place where, we think swimming can be. What are the strengths and what are the reasons that we can believe? You guys, I want to hear from Brent first. Or no, Rowdy, you come first, and then Brent, telling me the positives about when we look to the future of swimming. Why should I be telling these parents, look, this is a sport for the future. We're going to be here because ... Go ahead, Rowdy.
Well, Sid, I mean, our sport, I'll stack our sport for the values it teaches you against any other in the world. When you're talking about words like dedication and commitment and responsibility and teamwork and setting goals, those are all words that swimmers live by every single day. Whether you're a recreational swimmer at 6 just starting out in your own way, or you're an Olympian, you're doing the kinds of things that are making you a better person long term. So 20 years from now, Fort Lauderdale is going to be the same thing you said at the very beginning. It's going to be that mecca for the sport of swimming. And swimming is in great hands. USA Swimming is doing an incredible job through this tragic period we're living through in our life. And we're going to come out of it okay. And I hope I'm still around in 20 years to see it. That's for sure.
Oh, come on. You're in great shape. You're in better shape than all of us. Get out of here.
You and me both. How about you, Brent? It's good. He's been a dutiful muter.
There we go. You're good. Go ahead.
I've been a good listener. So what I was saying is I'm just looking 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. But if I look 20 years down the road, the thing I have to believe that swimming and aquatics has always been on the forefront of social change. When you go back, in our museum we found illustrations in BC and tombs in Egypt, and then you go forward through how ERA equal rights movement started with swimming. A lot of fashion started in swimming. The segregation and equal rights and racial things started with swimming, and I think all of those that history is going to just continue to do it. But I really think that swimming is a galvanizing point for everything across the globe. And my hope is that the aquatics will bring all cultures together more than any other sport. We can, in our mission at the Hall of Fame, when I took over, we put in there specifically, our mission was the sharing of cultures. So I think that's it. And then I think that the sport of swimming always is testing human boundaries. And I'm always, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you see records continue to fall. and I just have to say that there isn't going to be a stopping point, because it challenges the next person. It brings out the best of all of us. So I just have a firm belief that the sport of swimming and aquatics will be the galvanizing for everything in our universe. And I don't know who those people will be, but that's my vision.
It's gonna
All
be
right,
Martin, it's gonna be Martin and Rowdy, because they're in the best shape. Okay, and then maybe Laura there. It looks like it. They'll be here still.
Yeah, Martin definitely. You guys with all your young kids.
I'll just say, I mean, I'm really excited about the Hall of Fame and the endless possibilities. I mean, you think of all the meets that have been there. I mean, between nationals, Y nationals, just regular invitationals, and I'll tell you, in the state of Florida, we need facilities, and to get the Hall of Fame back, it's going to be a big shot in the arm for everybody. It's going to be huge, and I'm really excited to see what they can do, in everything, swimming, water polo, diving. I mean, you name it, anything in the aquatic world. I mean, it would be nice to see it all coming back to Florida. It's going to be a great thing to see in when it reopens, but also in 20 years, see what the possibilities are.
Yeah, I agree. Down here in Florida, right, Laura? We want you guys to all come. We want to bring the world back. I know I was talking, right? I was speaking informally with a couple guys today from our NCSA meet, Rowdy, which we've done so successfully for so many years with your great help. I remember one year lane lines didn't show or broke, and you and I are going and picking up lane lines. But that club, the National Club Swimming Association, that's been at your pool and for so many years, has done a great job. When USA Swimming dropped junior nationals, boom, Bob Gillette and the boys were there to pull it together, and I'm proud to work with them. And they were saying to me all about the COVID on, hey, we're worried. What about, we got to go indoor pool? And then I said, well, look, in a couple years, I know Laura would love to get a bid out. Let's see what, and not to take anything away, but Rowdy, we love going to Orlando. And I know that Mr. Rosen, who you work with, has done so much for that facility. What's the future up there? What are you thinking is going to happen?
Well, it's a bit unknown right now, Sid. I mean, I think we're all kind of sitting on pins and needles about pools across the country opening back up. We're slowly opening up back here. We have 26 Ys in Orlando, in the Orlando area, and 4 of them open tomorrow. Another 6 or 8 open next Monday. The Aquatic Center is not one of those. But like I said, Mr. Rosen has done a tremendous amount for the facility. There are going to be plenty of meets for everybody. I mean, Fort Lauderdale is going to have plenty of swim meets and plenty of opportunity for great revenue from events and programs and memberships, you name it, because it's got great leadership. And I know the Hall of Fame and what Brent's been able to do with the Hall of Fame is just unbelievable. I think Bruce kind of brought the Hall of Fame name into the forefront, and Brent's just added some incredible leadership. And I think, Sid, with you down there, it certainly is going to help. I have only one question, because I know we're getting wrapped up. I have to ask Martin, when was the first time you ever paid for a meal after you won gold in Barcelona? Right? Dude, I bet you didn't pay for one meal. Have you paid for a meal yet?
Maybe not yet.
Not yet.
Oh, man. And, well, at the Olympics is one thing, but fame is fleeting, and
no way. No way. You're still a god over there. You still haven't paid for a meal. I guarantee it.
Oh, and the Olympics is a great time, but yeah, I've had to pay for some meals. I went to Spain last year, and for my 50th birthday to see my dad, and
But
like any other person down the road, nobody would have recognized.
I know a lot of your audience knows this, but I bet you some don't. He was like a god after those Olympics, y'all. And I mean, he went to you went to the king. You hung out with the king of Spain, right, Martin? After you won, I know you did. I remember that. And I'm
And
thinking,
Jesus.
I wish I was Martin Zabero for one day. Just one day. I wanted to be Martin Zabero.
And I kind of talked about it last week. Actually, the King of Spain was not at my race when I won. It was the Queen and the Princess were there. The King was not there. But
Well, that's who you want to have there.
what's that?
Rowdy.
You want to have the Queen and the Princess there. Forget the King.
Yeah, come on. That's so true.
Martin, I'm gonna have to say it now. When Madonna,
Oh no!
I'm gonna tell a story. When Madonna summons you to come to watch a concert, you're pretty much the big stuff.
Oh,
You know?
Yeah, that's a very long story, but
We have 8 minutes.
I'm just gonna give you
Who cares about the Hall of Fame? All I care about is Madonna and Martin.
Yeah.
It was right after the Olympics, and I guess there was one of these like teenage girl magazines, YM magazine. It had a question and answer with Madonna in there. And it's like, if you could be any guy in the world, who'd you want to be? And she said either Marlon Brando or me. And at the time, my brother was teaching high school. I can't remember if he was at Episcopal or if he was at Pinecrest. But one of his students showed him the magazine and told me about it. And somehow Madonna got my phone number.
Of course she did.
Mail and
How?
oh no! But, I ended up going to see her in concert in Auburn Hills, Michigan, which is her hometown. So
Here's how nonchalant.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying any more than that.
Here's how laid back Martin was back then. So I lived on University at UF. We're all swimming together, and he's pulling up his car. He goes, "Can I park my car in your garage?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." Why? He goes, "Madonna wants me up in New York." I'm like, "What?"
I don't remember that, Joe. I don't remember that.
I parked my car. I gotta go up to Madonna. Oh boy,
Busted.
Now, Martin, my only question is, were you before or after Rodman?
Oh man, I don't know. This was the year after. This was like 92. It was like 93. It was actually the year
before.
After the
This is pre-Rodman.
Okay, good. And you're clean. You're all right. You're good.
oh my gosh, stop it!
But it's good story, I guess you could say.
So,
Really good story.
I have another question for Brent before I sign off. And Joe, I just want to say that having this kind of Hall of Fame cast of characters here is unbelievable. We do have some new announcements that, Joe and I are going to try and branch out a little bit. I hope Joe's going to help me. We're going to kick off a Monday night show that I would love to have any of you on at any time, Stories with Sid Cassidy. And Joe will help me get it going here in the next few weeks. But when I think about Brent, the future, where we are now, hopefully you're going to open up in July. Of course, now July is the Olympics in 2021. And I know that you don't want a soft opening, Laura, Brent. I want you to guys tell me when you do open, what are some of the ways that people can come and support you? And what are some of the ways people can support you right now? How can everybody get involved and be 1 in 1,000 or whatever we need to do to help the Hall of Fame get rolling?
That's a good question. I mean, that's a
and maybe I answered the question you had originally wrong. You're saying about the future, and I was thinking about swimming itself. But specifically, we have some great photos of what this new facility is going to look like, and then we also have a great vision of what the new iShop buildings we hope to find money to raise. And if you guys have those, I'd love to walk people through that.
All right. Stand by.
And
this is go ahead, Brent. I don't know if you've seen this.
No, I haven't seen this. Obviously, this is the 27-meter high tower. People say it's the only one in the Western Hemisphere. I think it's the only one in the world that has all of these features. So personally, the marketing person I'm saying this is the only one of its kind in the world. Look at how that just comes to life. And Laura has worked so hard on a little bit of the designs. We're still trying to figure out how that could be illuminated at night. But if you come in and look at this from an aerial view, you're just seeing a spectacular place. And even what you're looking at now, it sits 1,500 people over here, and the locker rooms. Originally, we said the city approved 27 million, but right now I think we're up to 46 million, 45, 46 million, because they decide they're going to take down the whole locker room on the south side there. So what an incredible location! It's the Venice of America. I think what you guys talked about today and the history of it, that's what the commissioners want to hear. The city council wants to hear that, because, you know, what I'm telling them, that this is, when people go to New York, they think of Statue of Liberty. When they go to St. Louis, they think of the Golden Arch. But when they come to Fort Lauderdale, this is what they should be saying and saying. This should be the leader of it all. So that's one version of that. Laura is the person who's seen every iteration of this, from a 78 million project that 15 years ago to another project that kept getting down to no project. We were going to Santa Clara, and when I took over, we were on a 30-day month-to-month lease. And people were like, Brent, why are you doing this? You know, and I'm like, because this is where it should be. And once we sat down and committed to being here, the Hall of Fame, my first day was to call Santa Clara up and say, we're not coming there. We're going to stay in Fort Lauderdale. You know, they turned around and gave us a 30-year lease. And I met with the whole city council, and I gave them a Navajo Indian peace pipe right there. And I said, this is my gift to the city. We're here to stay. Whatever happened in the past, we're here to support, and we're going to make this an international destination.
So Brent and Laura, you know, Gibson there just gave us a good idea. So all the world record holders that set a record in the original pool, plus Masters world record holders, they should all have the first toe dip in the pool to christen it for speed. Yeah,
that would be great. You know, actually, part of the past, we saved the tiles from the old pool. Hensel Phelps dug them up in lanes 4 and 5, and we have those original tiles from 1965. So we can tell Katie Ball that we've got a tile from the old pool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, well, listen, guys, we only have a couple of minutes left, and you know, if you want to give your 30 seconds on the pool or life or COVID or whatever, it's what Sid and I normally do. So we'll start with you, Brent, and we'll hit Laura, Martin, and Rowdy. All right, go ahead, Brent. If any.
Well, as far as, you know, I think, yeah, these are really trying times, and when I think about the COVID and how we're going to get out of this and move forward, we have some very, very intelligent people in our aquatic community, and they'll figure it out, and we'll get back. If we all get back on the same rat race and the same rat wheel, we haven't learned a thing. And so I'm very optimistic that good things are going to come. And once we get that, it may not look the same, it may not be practicing the same, but I'm very, very optimistic. And I think that I look forward to working with Laura. She's doing helping with the Aquatic Center. We want to make the Hall of Fame be a real destination. So
awesome. All right, Laura.
Well, I'll just echo Brent's comments. It's really great to see all the construction going on right now. And we're looking forward to welcoming everybody home to Fort Lauderdale when this new aquatic center is open, and the great things ahead for the Swimming Hall of Fame and Brent's vision, and their board of directors have been doing a great job. And we've got great support from Swim Fort Lauderdale, our coaches, Jennifer and Dave Gibson and Marty Hendrick for the Masters, Dave Bergering, Fort Lauderdale dive team. And they've all been working real hard here to keep the kids motivated and the teams together. And we're just looking forward to welcome everybody home to Fort Lauderdale.
Awesome. And Martin, I know that I'm going to have to take you to dinner because I mentioned Madonna, but please go ahead.
I think, you know, we got to support one another. Obviously, with the Hall of Fame opening up, that's wonderful. I mean, I know the Aquatic Center Orlando, you know, they're hosting competitions all the time as well. You know, we're in this together. You know, some people are in the water, some people are not. You know, and it's not. It's not like anybody's going to be one-upping one another. If they're able to get in 2 weeks before somebody else, I mean, we gotta support one another. We will get through this, and I see some exciting times for us here in the state of Florida.
Awesome, Martin. Mr. Rowdy, Hall of Famer.
I'm too wrapped up in my love for Martin Sabero to even begin to talk.
Me too.
I think I know, man. He's a god.
Rowdy, it was great being on you with a world record relay. That was probably
I know it's Masters.
My family got to see it.
Hey, Martin, I know it's Masters, and like there's only like 40 people in our whole age group, but it was really pretty cool to be able to swim that relay with you and say, you know, we broke a world record. Anyway, Joe, Sid, thanks so much for having me on. Great show. Laura and Brent, you guys are unbelievable, and good luck. You can count on me for whatever you need.
Awesome. Now listen, Brent, Sid and I brought you 3 Hall of Famers. So there you go. You should feel satisfied, get a good night's sleep tonight. And, you know, we certainly appreciate everybody that's watching. And Sid, love you, man.
Love you, Joe. We'll see you hopefully Monday,
and then also next week, next Wednesday. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you next
Really
time.
good.
You guys are awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care.